So last month, your ROAS, or what they call return on ad spend, was like 5.8, and you're very happy. Your Meta manager is quite happy. You're also happy, and then you are even decided to approve a budget increase. But then you thought about it and you were like, let me check my Shopify platform as well, just before I make this decision. And then you checked your Shopify platform, and then you realize that revenue has been flat. Now, the most interesting part of it is that you then realize that this revenue has not just been flat for just 1 week, but for the last 5 weeks. So this is the same problem that a lot of D2C brands have. The ROAS is actually going on the fly, it's high, but by the time they check their revenue on Shopify, they realize that it doesn't add up. So they were like, which number is actually telling us the truth? So if you're like that, that is what we want to discuss in this episode. Now, return on ad spend, or ROAS in itself, is not entirely bad. It's not like it's not a useful metrics. It's a useful metric, but if you depend on just return on ad spend, or ROAS itself, you are going to be making a lot of mistake every time, because you can't grow your business based on just ROAS. All right, because there are at least 5 things that your ROAS does not see at all. And that is why this episode we want to discuss 5 things that your Meta ROAS doesn't tell you. And I hope that at the end of this episode, you are going to gain insight that is not just only going to help you, but it's going to help your business. So either you're a D2C brand owner, this is going to be useful to you so that you can know how to communicate it with whosoever is managing your ad account. And if you are an ad account or a paid media expert, this also is going to be useful to you, because in the past I also made this mistake until I figure out why this is happening and how to go about it. So let's get started. By the way, if this is the first time you're listening to this, anywhere you're listening to, either on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts, please just follow us and leave a review after the episode. The reason I said after the episode is so that, if you find it useful, leave a review. If you don't find it useful, let us also know, so thank you so much. All right. So my name is Sola Mathew. I am the host of Digital Marketing Talk podcast. And today, like I said, we're going to be looking at 5 things that Meta ROAS doesn't tell you. So number 1 is that your ROAS doesn't tell you whether you're acquiring new customers or you are just recycling old ones. All right. And I think that is probably the biggest blind spot right now. Okay. Because you see, when you look at Meta platform, all right, they use if you use the in-platform attribution, it uses like, I think, 7 days and one day view attribution. And if you're just looking at ROAS, all right, what it tells you, it doesn't really tell you, if you are acquiring new customers or whether it is the returning customers. That is what ROAS doesn't tell you. And that is actually very dangerous, because when you look at your return on ad spend, especially if you're going after old customers, you will see that your ROAS tends to be inflated. And that is because it's quite easy and cheaper to go after existing customers or old customers. Now, let me just call them existing customers going forward. So it's quite easier. And that way, you'll be happy. Your Meta manager is probably also happy that, oh, this is how much we've made in terms of return on ad spend. But if you really look at it, you are just running on a strategy, on a short-term strategy. Because at the long run, the customers who keep buying every time are probably coming back as a result of customers that have bought before. So if you don't go after new customers today, what then happens is that you will not be able to eventually have customers that you'll be able to recycle over a long period of time. So the metrics that you need to be looking at, apart from ROAS in this case, is a new customer rate. Very important. And how do you measure that? So I have written it here. I'm just going to read it to you. So the way to measure that is new customers divided by total orders in a given time. So you need to be tracking this every month or monthly, because if it is trending down, that is the new customer rate. If it is trending down and your ROAS stays steady, it means that your acquisition is broken. So what you need to do is that you need to now review and work towards, acquiring new customers. Because most of the time, what happens is that your returning customers or retargeting or retention tend to max this new customer acquisition. So I know that some D2C funders love, having high ROAS, but in a sense, high ROAS sometimes means that you are not going towards new customers. Okay, so you need to balance this, and that is the first metric that you need to be looking at. Number two, your ROAS, your Meta ROAS, doesn't tell you what other channels are contributing to your growth. Okay, so for example, like I said earlier, Meta platform has 7-day one view attribution. Okay, now imagine a situation whereby a customer sees your ad on Meta and then goes to your email platform and then eventually goes back to Google ads and then buys from Google. Now Google will claim attribution, right? Google will attribute the sale to itself. Email will attribute the sale to itself. Now, assuming it also maybe the same user had been on your TikTok platform and other platforms like that. All of these platforms, if you're running ads on them, what they're going to do is they are going to attribute the sale to themselves. So it means that you'll be double paying or paying double to acquire or to, make a sale. Now, that is actually something that ROAS, your in-platform ROAS or Meta ROAS, will not tell you. And in that case, what I recommend is to use marketing efficiency ratio, because it doesn't look at, just your in-platform revenue. And the way to measure it is you look at all of your spend across different platforms, okay? And then you look at all of your revenue across different platforms. And what you do is you then divide your revenue by your spend. And what I love to do in this case is that I do not love to use the in-platform revenue. I love to use the Shopify platform revenue, because that would tell you truly if your marketing efficiency ratio is efficient or it's deteriorating. Number three, it doesn't tell you the value or what your customers are worth. Now, this is quite important because you see, when you run ad on Meta platform, for example, or any other platform, your ROAS can only see if the customer converts or not. It doesn't know the value of the customer over time, you know. And it means that if you are just optimizing towards the ROAS is a problem. And that is because you see, if a customer buys once, Meta ROAS or whatever your ROAS platform you're using, it only counts towards that customer. Now, there are some customers that will buy once, maybe because of discount, and they might never come back again. Wise, there are some customers that will buy over and over and over and over again. Those are the kind of customers that you should be bidding more for, because over their long term, these customers are the ones that are going to sustain your business. So instead of ROAS, like I said, ROAS is very important. It's also not a useless metric. It's just that it has its own place. All right. But if you really, really want to grow in this sense, what you need to do is your LTV to ratio of CAC. That is LTV ratio, customer acquisition cost. So what the way to measure this is basically you look at your lifetime value, your customer lifetime value, and you divide it by the customer acquisition cost. And that gives you your LTV to CAC ratio. Now, what you need to ask if you are a DTC funder is, what is your LTV to CAC ratio over the past 90 days? If you can't answer that, it means that you have a leakage in your business. Well, you might not necessarily have a leakage, but it means that you are not measuring what matters. So if you are new to this channel or you have been watching our videos and you have not subscribed yet, I want to encourage you to please hit the subscribe button right now and turn up notifications so that anytime we post videos like this, you'll be the first to know about it. We post quality videos over time and we're improving ourselves. And one of the best ways for you to just support us is to subscribe and share with your loved ones. So please subscribe and turn on notification. Number 4, ROAS doesn't tell you if the sale will have happened anyway. So there's something called incrementality test. I love to recommend this test to every D2C brand that I work with. I know you can't do this test every week or every month, but at least in a year, you should be able to do this test maybe once or twice or 3 times, or thrice. And the reason we said that is because you see, when you make a sale, ROAS is inflated. You look at the ROAS, but you can't really say if the sale would have happened anyway sometimes, right? And the best way to know this is to do this incrementality test. Sometimes you can use the in-platform test. For example, I think Meta actually offers what is called conversion lift, where you can do conversion lift study, and Google also offers its own, but we're not going to talk about Google at the moment. So, and another way to actually do this test is you can, for example, if you're running ads on different regions, all right, you can decide to pause one of your regions and see if sales is going to hold steady, especially sales coming from paid media. So that difference will tell you if your paid media is, contributing incremental sales to your business. All right. If not, then you need to, review and rework your business, especially your marketing, because this is something that return on ad spend or ROAS would not tell you. The last but not the least, number 5, is that your ROAS doesn't tell you if you're profitable or not. I know this is hard to hear, right? Because this was what I posted on Twitter and some people came for me. Now, it depends on the business. If you're running maybe you're running a digital product business and, normally digital products would tend to have, good return on investment, right? Sometimes could be masking some of the things that you needed to check. But if you're running a D2C brand, let's say you have a return on ad spend or ROAS of 4x, all right, but your contribution margin is 30%. Now what that tells you is, by the time you look at your contribution margin and you look at your ROAS, and then you look at all of your, by the time you subtract like your all of your costs, maybe even the agency you are paying, you look at the cost of running your business, like the software that you're using, the cost of hiring, your staff, and all of that. By the time you look at it, you realize that if you're just looking at ROAS, in that case, for example, ROAS of 4%, 4x, all right, and then contribution margin, you might see that your business might actually be running at a loss. And that is why you can't just depend on ROAS for your business growth. So somebody might ask me, so what do I need to be measuring in this case? What you need to be measuring is actually contribution margin per order. All right. So what you need to do in that case is net revenue minus any variable cost that you have. For example, like cost of running your marketing, cost of goods, this cost, you remove them. And by the time you see that for some business, they're probably running at a loss, but they don't know yet. Maybe because other forms of revenue are covering it. So let's bring this five together again. The first thing I said is that your ROAS doesn't tell you whether you're acquiring new customers or you're recycling old ones. And what I said you should track in that sense is the new customer rate. The second thing I mentioned is that ROAS doesn't tell you whether your other channels are contributing. So, and in that case, what you need to track is MER, or marketing efficiency ratio. The third point is that your ROAS doesn't tell you whether your customers are what you are paying for. And in that case, what you need to measure is the LTV to CAC ratio. Number four, I said it doesn't tell you whether the sales would have happened anyway. And that is why I advise that it's important to run incrementality tests. And the last but not the least is that your ROAS doesn't tell you whether your business is actually profitable. And that is why it is important that you track contribution margin. Now, somebody might watch this video and say, so ROAS is useless. No, it's not useless, as I've always said. You can use ROAS to do in-platform, optimization. For example, is your creative working? These are the things that your ROAS is supposed to tell you. So if you're running an ad and your ROAS is not good, sometimes it means that your creative is not good. So your ROAS also tells you whether your audience is responding well or whether a particular campaign is working or not. It's good for in-platform metrics, measurement, but you can't just use your ROAS as your business metrics for decision, because then it's going to affect your business. So sometimes you see some businesses begin to run for a long time, and it takes them a long time before they realize that their business has not been profitable because all they've been reporting on is their ROAS. So that's it for this week. Before you go, please share this video with someone that is into paid media or that needs to know that ROAS is not the only thing that you can make your decision on. And maybe you've been arguing or discussing in your team that ROAS is not the only metrics that should be used. Maybe this is the perfect video to send to those people, just so that they can see that it is much more than ROAS, or return on ad spend. By the way, I developed a framework called the Plant Framework. It's a D2C marketing framework that is going to help your business grow. It shows you the metrics you should be looking at. It helps you to plan, to launch your business, and up to tracking your business in a reasonable way. So I would advise you to watch this video, which is going to show you how to do that. And if you want, you can also check the link in my description for a link to get a free copy of the planned revenue diagnosis. And I hope that you got value from this video. Remember, share this video with someone that you believe needs it today.